You think you're free. But behind every symbol, every system, and every screen, someone else is pulling the strings. The real question isn't what's true. It's who told you what truth is. It's a concept as unsettling as it is elusive revelation of the method, a theory suggesting that the Illuminati and other secretive elites reveal their intentions and actions in plain sight. Not as a warning, but as a ritual, a psychological tool, a form of control. According to this belief, the symbols, plots, and agendas of the powerful are not hidden, but disguised as entertainment, fiction, or even satire. Films, music videos, commercials, and architecture are seen as delivery systems for coded truths. By exposing the masses to these hidden narratives, while presenting them as fantasy, the elite both flaunt their dominance and defuse resistance. The theory holds that this revelation is not a slip-up, but a requirement. In revealing their methods, even symbolically, the elite preserve a twisted form of karmic balance. The public has been warned, and by failing to act or recognize the message, becomes complicit in its own manipulation. Examples often cited include dystopian films that mirror real-world policies, occult symbolism in mainstream award shows, or predictive elements in television long before major global events. To believers, this is not coincidence, it's programming. Skeptics argue it's all projection, a way to find patterns in a chaotic world. But for those who subscribe to revelation of the method, the most dangerous secrets aren't buried. They're displayed, just obscurely enough to be dismissed. Is the truth hiding in plain sight, or is the act of questioning itself part of the game? In a world saturated with symbols and screens, perhaps the final illusion is that nothing means more than it seems. It's a document every person receives at the beginning of life, a birth certificate. But within the folds of this seemingly simple record, some believe lies the blueprint for a system of global control, one quietly orchestrated by the Illuminati. The birth certificate theory suggests that upon registration, each individual is unknowingly entered into a financial and legal system that turns them into a corporate entity. According to this view, governments, backed by central banks, use birth certificates as collateral, assigning each person a monetary value based on projected lifetime earnings. That value is then allegedly traded on secret stock markets, without the knowledge or consent of the individual. Proponents point to capitalization of names on official documents, bond certificates linked to birth registrations, and maritime law principles, suggesting that under this hidden system, human beings are treated as assets, not citizens. The theory overlaps with sovereign citizen beliefs and ties into larger conspiracies about the Illuminati's desire to reduce people to data points, controlled through bureaucracy, finance, and silence. Governments and legal experts dismiss these claims outright, calling them pseudo-legal nonsense. They argue that birth certificates are purely administrative, used for identification, not ownership. But believers ask, if identity can be assigned, tracked, and valued without consent, is that not a kind of ownership? Whether myth or metaphor, the theory forces a provocative question. In the eyes of hidden powers, are we sovereign individuals, or merely signatures in an invisible ledger? In a world of forms, numbers, and coded systems, the line between citizen and commodity may be thinner than it seems. Across centuries of power and empire, a theory persists, one that weaves together royalty, finance, and control into a single, shadowy lineage, the Illuminati bloodlines. Proponents of the theory believe that a select group of families, often cited as 13, maintain hidden influence over world affairs through intermarriage, wealth, and strategic positioning. Names like Rothschild, Rockefeller, and DuPont appear frequently in this web, alongside royal dynasties and elite banking houses. The idea suggests that these families aren't merely wealthy, they are connected by blood, ideology, and a long-term agenda. At the core of this belief lies a principle of dynastic continuity, that power isn't just inherited through money or institutions, but through carefully preserved genetics. Genealogical charts, some real, some speculative, are offered as evidence of ties between American presidents, European monarchs, and corporate titans. The implication that elections, revolutions, and even wars are not disruptions of power, but performances within a much older script. Critics dismiss the theory as a modern myth, a psychological attempt to explain inequality through secret control. But the allure of the bloodlines theory remains strong, especially in an age of increasing wealth concentration and diminishing public trust. Could these families simply be the result of generational success and influence? Or is there something deeper? An invisible thread binding decisions across time, borders, and governments. The theory offers no clear proof, only patterns, and in those patterns, a question. If true power is inherited, not elected, who really rules the world? In an age where every thought can be shared in an instant, the notion of hidden hands guiding our digital conversations seems almost inevitable. From the earliest days of MySpace to today's sprawling networks, social media platforms have reshaped how we connect, learn, and even believe. Yet behind the screens and algorithms, conspiracy theorists point to the Illuminati, arguing that this secretive cabal now wields unprecedented influence over our news feeds, trending topics, and viral movements. Evidence, they say, appears in subtle patterns. Coordinated hashtag campaigns, synchronized content moderation, and the sudden rise of certain narratives while others vanish. Tech insiders whisper about closed-door meetings between platform executives and powerful financiers. Meetings that, they claim, set the agenda for global discourse long before users ever log on. Critics contend that algorithmic bias and corporate interests explain much of what looks like orchestration. But to believers, the Illuminati's hand is unmistakable. They see symbols in UI designs, coded references in viral memes, and the rapid suppression of inconvenient research, all pointing to a centralized effort to steer public opinion. As platforms race to adopt AI-driven content filters and community standards, questions multiply. Who defines truth in a digital world? And when those definitions shift without warning, whose interests are served? Our feeds promise freedom of expression, but if a hidden network truly controls the narrative, then our very perceptions of reality may be the greatest mystery of all. On the morning of September 11, 2001, the world watched in horror as two planes struck the Twin Towers of New York's World Trade Center. Nearly 3,000 lives were lost. The attack changed the course of global history. But for some, what unfolded that day was more than a tragedy. It was a calculated signal. Within hours, conspiracy theories emerged. Among them, the suggestion that 9/11 was orchestrated or at least allowed by a shadowy elite, often referred to as the Illuminati. Supporters of this theory point to symbolism, numerology, and prior warnings. The date itself, 9/11, is seen as significant. In occult numerology, the number 11 is considered a master number tied to spiritual power and chaos. The Twin Towers, two monoliths standing side by side, are said to mirror ancient Masonic symbols. Some claim the event bore signs of ritual. The precision of the collapse, the immediate calls for a new world order, and the rapid expansion of government surveillance. In their view, the attack provided a perfect pretext, one that justified wars abroad, mass data collection, and a population governed by fear. Government agencies and independent investigators have consistently found no evidence supporting these claims. But doubts persist, fueled by classified documents, unanswered questions, and the sheer scale of the event's aftermath. Was 9/11 the result of intelligence failure and extremism, or something far more deliberate? The official story may explain the how. But for those who question the why, the shadow of 9/11 remains cast, not just over a skyline, but over the trust between people and power. In the deeper corners of alternative history, one theory continues to echo through books, forums, and whispered conversations: the belief that 13 elite families secretly shape the fate of the world. Known as the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, this theory claims that global power is not held by elected leaders or visible institutions, but by a tightly connected group of dynastic families. Names frequently cited include the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Astors, DuPonts, and Kennedys, families with deep roots in finance, politics, industry, and media. According to proponents, these lineages stretch back centuries, intermarrying to preserve influence and strategically placing descendants in key positions of power. The theory first gained traction with the publication of underground texts like Bloodlines of the Illuminati by Fritz Springmeier, which cataloged alleged genealogies and influence maps. Followers believe these families operate above nation-states, controlling banks, steering global institutions, and subtly manipulating world events to maintain dominance. Critics dismiss the theory as anti-elitist folklore dressed in pseudo-history. They point out that wealth and privilege often reproduce themselves without secret plots. Still, the idea persists, fueled by real patterns of inherited wealth, opaque networks of influence, and a world that increasingly feels rigged from the top down. Are these 13 families truly orchestrating global affairs, or are they symbols of a deeper truth? That concentrated power, whether secret or visible, rarely lets go. In a world of shifting alliances and digital transparency, the notion of a hidden dynasty still lingers, just beneath the surface of the headlines. Bright lights, global stages, and millions of eyes. Modern pop music is more than entertainment. For some, it's a theater of hidden symbols and coded rituals. And at the center of this belief stands a single word: Illuminati. Beginning in the late 2000s, fans and conspiracy theorists alike began to point out strange consistencies in music videos, stage performances, and album art. The all-seeing eye, the pyramid, checkerboard floors, and masked figures, symbols historically tied to occultism and secret societies, suddenly appeared everywhere, from the MTV Awards to top-charting videos. Artists like Jay-Z, Beyoncé, Rihanna, Katy Perry, and Lady Gaga became the focus of intense speculation. Jay-Z's Rockefeller diamond hand gesture, Beyoncé's halftime shows, and Gaga's surreal imagery were interpreted as more than artistic expression. They were, according to some, open acknowledgments of allegiance to the Illuminati. Critics of the theory argue that these symbols are either coincidental or part of a long-standing tradition of shock aesthetics in pop culture. But believers see them as ritualistic performances meant to condition the public, elevate certain artists to near-godlike status, and subtly promote an agenda of control and submission through fame and influence. As pop stars ascend to near-mythic cultural status, the lines between art, power, and influence blur. Is it all a clever marketing strategy feeding on mystery? Or are the biggest names in music playing roles in a much older and deeper narrative? In a world where image is everything, some wonder, who's really writing the script behind the spotlight? In the heart of Enlightenment-era Bavaria, a secret society rose with bold ambitions to reshape human civilization through reason, science, and the dismantling of tyranny. It called itself the Order of the Illuminati. Founded in 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, a professor of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt, the Illuminati attracted intellectuals, freethinkers, and even members of the nobility. Its structure mimicked that of Freemasonry, but its goals were more radical, aiming to challenge the monarchy, religious dogma, and entrenched power. But as the order grew in numbers and influence, so did suspicion. Conservative forces within the Bavarian state, particularly the Catholic Church and monarchist elite, viewed the Illuminati not as reformers, but as dangerous revolutionaries working in the shadows. In 1785, under the command of Duke Karl Theodor of Bavaria, the Illuminati was officially outlawed. Edicts were issued, members were arrested, documents were seized. Weishaupt fled into exile, and the order was declared dismantled. Yet, rumors persisted. Seized writings hinted at broader ambitions. Some claimed the Illuminati hadn't been destroyed, only driven deeper underground. In the decades that followed, revolutions erupted across Europe and America, and the specter of Illuminati influence loomed large in the minds of monarchs and clergy. Was the suppression of 1785 the end of the Illuminati, or the beginning of its myth? To this day, some believe the order never truly vanished. It simply learned to hide in plain sight. In 1789, the streets of Paris thundered with the cries of revolt. The monarchy crumbled, the Bastille fell, and a centuries-old regime collapsed under the weight of revolution. But behind the visible chaos, some saw the guiding hand of a hidden force, the Illuminati. Founded just 13 years earlier in Bavaria, the Order of the Illuminati had already been outlawed by 1785. Officially dismantled, its members dispersed. Yet rumors spread that the society's ideals, liberty, secularism, and the destruction of aristocratic privilege had taken root elsewhere. Writings from the time, including the works of Augustine Barruel and John Robison, claimed the Illuminati had infiltrated Freemasonry and radical political clubs across Europe. They argued that the Enlightenment's push for reason and individual rights was no coincidence, but part of a coordinated plan to overthrow thrones and churches alike. To supporters of the revolution, these were paranoid fantasies, attempts by the old order to discredit a popular uprising. But the fear lingered. How could such a sweeping upheaval, so sudden and so complete, occur without unseen influence? Modern historians largely dismiss the theory, pointing instead to economic inequality, poor leadership, and the power of revolutionary ideas. Still, the myth endures because the French Revolution wasn't just a political shift. It was a cultural earthquake, and in moments of rupture, people often look for the hidden hand. Did the Illuminati light the match that set France ablaze, or were they simply caught in the fire of an idea whose time had come? A single eye, enclosed within a triangle, gazes outward from countless places: cathedrals, ancient texts, even the back of the US $1 bill. It's called the Eye of Providence, and for centuries, it has symbolized something greater than the human eye can see. Rooted in Christian iconography, the eye was originally meant to represent the omniscience of God, a divine presence watching over creation. The triangle surrounding it symbolized the Holy Trinity, and the radiating light implied enlightenment, guidance, and spiritual vision. But over time, the symbol evolved. By the 18th century, it began to appear in Masonic lodges, often associated with the pursuit of knowledge and moral vigilance. And then it appeared in one of the most iconic and controversial places of all, the Great Seal of the United States. Adopted in 1782, the seal shows the Eye of Providence hovering above an unfinished pyramid, 13 steps rising upward toward illumination. Below it reads the Latin phrase Novus Ordo Seclorum, a new order of the ages. To some, it marked the birth of a free nation. To others, it was a quiet nod to something more secretive, a new world order, quietly guided by elite hands. Today, the eye has become synonymous with conspiracy, the supposed emblem of the Illuminati. It's been interpreted as a mark of control, surveillance, and hidden power. But is the eye a symbol of divine watchfulness, human enlightenment, or subtle domination? Whatever its meaning, it watches still, silent, ancient, and unexplained. It's one of the most recognizable yet least understood emblems in American iconography, the Great Seal of the United States. At first glance, it appears to reflect the ideals of a young republic. But to many, it carries the hidden fingerprint of a secret society, the Illuminati. On the reverse side of the seal, a 13-step unfinished pyramid rises toward an eye encased in a radiant triangle, the Eye of Providence. Above it, Annuit Coeptis, meaning he approves our undertakings. Below, Novus Ordo Seclorum, a new order of the ages. To official historians, these elements signify divine favor, strength, and the dawn of a new American era. Yet, for centuries, others have seen something else. The pyramid, a symbol of ancient mystery traditions. The all-seeing eye, a known Masonic motif. The Latin phrase, a possible nod to the establishment of a new world order. And the date inscribed in Roman numerals at the pyramid's base, 1776, the very year the Bavarian Illuminati was founded. Though there's no direct evidence linking the creators of the seal to the Illuminati, the convergence of symbols has stirred endless speculation. Did members of secret societies embed their philosophy into the nation's founding? Or are we projecting modern fears onto historical design? The Great Seal appears on official documents, military insignia, and every US dollar bill in circulation. It is both public and cryptic, its meaning fixed in time, yet always open to interpretation. Is it simply a patriotic emblem, or a silent testament to unseen hands shaping the course of history? Perhaps the truth lies not in what we see, but in what was intended never to be fully revealed. Few names in modern history evoke as much mystique and controversy as the Rothschilds. For over 2 centuries, This European banking dynasty has been at the center of immense wealth, global finance, and persistent whispers of hidden power. Founded by Mayor Amschel Rothschild in 18th century Frankfurt, the family built a sprawling financial empire through strategic marriages, political connections, and a vast network of banking houses across Europe. By the 19th century, the Rothschilds were financiers of kings, funders of wars, and holders of influence so vast it became difficult to track. It was during this rise that conspiracy theories took root. Some claimed the family's reach extended far beyond finance, that they were part of or even leaders within the secret society known as the Illuminati. The theory suggested that the Rothschilds used their wealth not just for profit, but to shape world events, manipulate markets, and control governments, all from behind the scenes. Critics argue these claims are rooted in anti-Semitic tropes and misinformation. Historians emphasize that while the family was undeniably powerful, there is no credible evidence linking them to the Bavarian Illuminati or any modern successor. Yet the rumors persist, fueled by anonymous sources, historical speculation, and the enduring mystery of how a single family could hold such sustained global influence. Are the Rothschilds simply an enduring symbol of financial success? Or are they part of something deeper, a quiet force guiding the hidden architecture of power? In a world where money often moves faster than truth, the shadows around the Rothschild legacy remain deeply entangled with the mythos of the Illuminati. From chart-topping hits to global fashion icon, Rihanna's influence stretches far beyond music. But behind the fame and style, some observers see something else. An unsettling pattern of symbols, performances, and visuals tied to the world of the occult. Beginning in the late 2000s, fans and theorists alike began to notice recurring themes in Rihanna's music videos, album art, and public appearances. The use of pyramids, the all-seeing eye, horns, masked dancers, and ritualistic choreography drew immediate attention. Videos like Umbrella, Disturbia, and Bitch Better Have My Money were scrutinized for hidden meanings, interpreted by some as initiations, sacrifices, or symbolic reenactments of occult rituals. Her 2009 Rated R era marked a turning point, as the imagery became darker and more theatrical. In public performances, Rihanna began incorporating gothic costumes, red lighting, and hand gestures often associated with secret societies. Some saw this as mere artistic expression. Others believed it signaled alignment or even allegiance with the so-called Illuminati. The speculation intensified after her Super Bowl halftime performance in 2023. Clad in crimson and suspended high above the stadium, the choreography, costume, and stage design once again reignited debates about hidden messages in mainstream pop. Is Rihanna simply pushing creative boundaries with provocative visuals? Or is her work part of a broader cultural pattern, subtly normalizing occult symbolism in the spotlight of mass media? Whether these elements are intentional, symbolic, or simply misunderstood, one thing remains clear. In Rihanna's world, every image is loaded, and every performance leaves a lingering question just beneath the surface. Founded in the aftermath of World War II, the United Nations was envisioned as a global body dedicated to peace, diplomacy, and international cooperation. With its headquarters in New York City and its flag flying over 190 nations, the UN stands as a symbol of unity in a fractured world. But to some, it represents something far more complex and far more secretive. Conspiracy theorists have long speculated that the United Nations is more than a peacekeeping institution. They argue it is a key instrument in a hidden agenda orchestrated by the Illuminati, a stepping stone toward a centralized global government. Central to this belief is the idea that the UN's global reach, unelected leadership, and expanding influence over health, education, and economics create the perfect framework for subtle control. Symbols such as the laurel wreath, the world map, and the organization's blue and white color scheme are examined for alleged Masonic or occult significance. The term New World Order, often echoed in UN speeches and global policy initiatives, only fuels further suspicion. Critics of this theory see it as a distortion, misinterpreting international diplomacy as covert domination. They argue the UN's actions, while imperfect, are transparent and largely driven by consensus. Yet, for those who believe in the Illuminati's long game, the UN is not the end, but the beginning. A vessel for quiet harmonization of laws, values, and systems until one authority governs all. Is the United Nations simply a stage for global cooperation, or a carefully designed mechanism for unseen powers to shape the future from above? As nations gather under one roof, the question remains: who's truly holding the pen that writes the rules? Classrooms are meant to be places of discovery, where young minds explore science, history, and the principles of free thought. But to some, modern education is not a path to enlightenment, but a carefully managed system, designed not to liberate but to program. The theory that the Illuminati influences global education systems suggests that what we learn, how we learn, and even what we are discouraged from questioning, is part of a broader agenda. According to believers, the goal isn't knowledge, it's conformity. Curriculums, they argue, have steadily shifted away from critical thinking and toward standardized content. History is sanitized, alternative theories are dismissed, and certain ideological frameworks are presented as unquestionable truths. Centralized testing, rigid grading systems, and scripted lesson plans all contribute to a culture of obedience, not inquiry. International organizations such as UNESCO, which play a key role in shaping global education standards, are sometimes viewed as part of this design, institutions that promote unity on the surface, but in reality, help push a homogenized worldview aligned with elite interests. Critics of the theory say it's paranoia masked as analysis. They point to the real-world challenges of education, inequality, underfunding, and political interference as more plausible explanations for its shortcomings. Still, the suspicion remains: if knowledge is power, then controlling the flow of knowledge may be the greatest power of all. Is education still a tool of personal liberation, or has it quietly become the most effective instrument of global conditioning? Amid the brutal machinery of the Nazi regime, buried beneath its military campaigns and political terror, lies a lesser-known thread, one woven with mysticism, ancient symbols, and arcane ideology. Some believe that Nazi occultism wasn't just a fringe obsession, but part of a deeper connection to secret societies, and perhaps even the Illuminati. At the center of this theory is the SS, particularly its enigmatic leader Heinrich Himmler. Obsessed with Aryan ancestry and esoteric power, Himmler created the Ahnenerbe, an organization tasked with uncovering ancient knowledge and lost civilizations. From Tibet to the Arctic, Nazi expeditions searched for relics, sacred sites, and spiritual weapons. The swastika itself, drawn from ancient Indo-European symbolism, became a rebranded emblem of a supposed ancestral elite. Some researchers claim that Nazi leadership was influenced by occult teachings such as theosophy, astrology, and Nordic paganism, an attempt to craft a new mythic origin for their ideology. The Thule Society, an early nationalist occult group, is often cited as a proto-Nazi secret society, blending politics with mystical ritual and racial theory. It's within this web of secrecy and symbolism that the Illuminati are sometimes invoked, not as co-conspirators, but as ideological ancestors. Both groups, according to some theorists, sought hidden knowledge and the manipulation of mass consciousness, cloaked in ritual and hierarchy. Was Nazi occultism a perversion of myth and power, or a continuation of a deeper, hidden tradition passed through secret orders? In the ruins of war, many answers were lost, but the shadow of what they sought, and who may have guided them, still lingers in silence. Beneath the glamour of runway lights and the allure of couture lies a world defined by image, influence, and symbolism. To most, the fashion industry is a celebration of creativity. But to some, it serves another purpose entirely, a stage for coded messages, elite rituals, and the subtle presence of the Illuminati. In recent years, major fashion campaigns and runway shows have raised eyebrows for their use of occult imagery. Models posed with blindfolds, horns, or third eyes, garments emblazoned with pyramids, serpents, and checkerboard floors, sets resembling temples or cathedrals, rich in esoteric design. Some of the industry's most powerful houses, Balenciaga, Gucci, and Alexander McQueen among them, have been scrutinized for blurring the line between art and ritual. High-profile events like the Met Gala, with its opulent themes and elite guest lists, are also viewed by some as more than just celebrity gatherings. Critics argue they mirror initiation rites, where only the chosen few participate in displays steeped in mystery and layered meaning. Supporters of these theories believe fashion is used not just to influence trends, but to normalize symbols associated with secret societies. Critics dismiss the claims as overreach, citing fashion's long-standing tradition of provocation and boundary pushing. But in an industry where perception is everything and symbolism speaks louder than words, the question remains: are these designs simply aesthetic choices, or carefully veiled signatures of hidden power? In fashion, nothing is accidental, and sometimes the real statement isn't on the runway, it's in what we're conditioned not to see.